Hailing from the forested regions of Valenwood, or Valenwood as some would say, are the Bosmers, also known as the Wood Elves, who, unlike their Aldmeri ancestors, reject the formalities of the civilized world and prefer to live among the wilderness, having a more romantic existence in harmony with their homeland. What also makes the Bosmers truly unique compared to the other races largely has to do with the Green Pact, a code where they are forbidden to harm any living plant life in Valenwood, and are restricted to eating meat, especially those from enemies they have slain. Another unique trait is the Wild Hunt, where whenever their homeland is threatened, they can shape into monstrous and uncontrolled supernatural beasts that devour everything in their path before turning on themselves in a so-called cannibalistic orgy, until there's only one left. Although this has only occurred a few times throughout their history. Because of these cultural traits, Bosmers are labeled as cannibals, primitive in nature, which often lead them to keep to themselves and thus rarely ever talk about their personal way of life outside of Valenwood. However, in this video we'll be looking at mods that showcases Bosmer culture in Skyrim, which I find features some of the most lore-friendly mods available dedicated to the playable race. We'll begin with an essential mod that overhauls the race system with Imperious. Now, I've been avoiding this mod in previous videos since I didn't want to bring it up every single time, but since this mod introduces key aspects of Bosmer society, it's quite essential for those that want to roleplay a Wood Elf in Skyrim. Imperious introduces the Green Pact ability where upon slaying an enemy, you get to so-called ritually eat the remains to gain attribute points depending on the victim's level for a brief time period. Although this only affects humanoids, it's definitely beneficial on a higher level victim, like an Orcish bandit chief where you can get a huge health bonus, or an Elmer mage for more magicka. So right away you get a perfect example of a mod showcasing the Bosmer's Carnivore's lifestyle and why it benefits them. The other ability showcases the Bosmer's natural hunting and marksmanship skills. Wild senses allow you to detect living beings in a certain area when staying still in sneak mode, and Harrier marks a target in combat to reduce their armor rating, which is perfect for an archer. Also, like with all the other races in the mod, a small quest is given. For Bosmers, hunting down certain animals emitted with a green glow will grant extra loot items, like spells, enchantments, and alchemy ingredients. Doing so 10 times grants you the Beast Tongue power, which is the same as their vanilla power, Command Animal, only your companion will be permanent and you can release them whenever you want. Just make sure you do it smartly or else you're going to look like an idiot. Case in point. Speaking of the Bosmer dietary habits, there's Bosmeri Cuisine, which adds more food items into Skyrim tailored for the true carnivore. Each of the new food items require at least one source of protein for the ingredients, like raw beef, chicken eggs, and even human hearts. What's great about some of the new food items is that their effects are not copy and pasted from vanilla, but have their own so they can be used in different situations. There's also new beverages, and like the food items are made with certain protein recipes. More appropriately, however, is how all the products are named, like hard blood stew and bone broth. And if you get the chance to read about them on the mod page, you understand why Bosmers would consume these types of food. Other than their carnivorous lifestyle, another unique feature about Bosmers, along with their strong connection to the forest, is that they can have antlers grown out of their foreheads. Although I'm not exactly sure the reason behind it, whether it's part of the biological traits or if it involves some sort of magic, but after doing some research, here's what I found. You see, the Green Pact is an agreement where the Bosmers are to never harm or eat the vegetation of Valenwood in return for Yifi's patronage. Yifi, god of the forest and the most important deity out of all the Bosmeri pantheon, in return grants them the power to maintain their form. That's because long ago, during the creation of the mortal plane, the whole world was in chaos, as a Bosmer, or some storytellers would say, the first mortals, were once literally every random changing monsters with no control over their shape-shifting abilities. Yifi would transform himself into the first of the Elnofe, or Earthbones, to establish the laws of nature, allowing the Bosmers to have a semblance of safety in the new world and thus maintain their normal form. So basically, the horns are likely sort of leftovers from the shapeshifting abilities that has been featured in other Elder Scrolls games, in which earlier depictions of Bosmers had them resembling as creature-like beings. All that makes perfect sense, right? Dumb, lousy, milk-drinking Nords! Anyway, all this leads to Cuyi's Bosmer Antlers, where you can choose 5 different antlers for your player character by selecting them in the Scar section of the character creation menu or crafting them at a forge. However, if you want more variety, then there's Wearable Horns, which adds 50 new ones. Of course, with that number, you'll get some realistic ones similar to Cuyi's version, while others having you look like an offspring of Baphomet. Sounds like another build idea. Gotta love those chaotic evil alignment builds, hehehehe. There's also Bosmer skull headdresses that add skull related headpieces suited for druid or shaman like character builds. Each of the headdresses composed of different animals and creatures, alongside with feathers which make each design look different and unique. The headdresses can also be worn alongside the circlets and horns, so there's plenty of combinations to choose from. For armors, well, there really is one notable set, and that is the Bosmer armor pack. While an old mod, I still find it is one of the better armor designs, considering how lore friendly it is, especially how the mod author describes each set on the mod page. Of course, the Wild Hunt armor is the major highlight, since its design literally looks like something the champion of the hunt would wear, as this particular person is to be feared upon whenever encountered. To acquire this particular set, you have to defeat the champion himself at Shadow Green Cavern. Although he's supposed to be at level 80, he's still manageable around mid-game. Just fighting him along with the Spriggans and Bears might be more challenging. Besides the heavy armor, the light armor version can be found around the treasure chest, along with a journal detailing the champion's experience with the Wild Hunt. The Green Pact armor may be more a retexture of the Bosmer armor pack, but also has its own features including custom designs to the bow and arrows, along with the greatsword, sword, and daggers. A cool feature about the mod are these glowing runes on the armor that depict the Green Pact order. The mod also adds a shrine of Ifrit at the roadside ruins in Folkreath, which not only grants you with a powerful blessing, but is also where you can craft the armor and weapons. First, you'll need to acquire an ingredient called Nature's Incense, which can be looted after hunting down a spirit of Ifrit in the Folkreath area. You also come across another ingredient, Bones of Ifrit, which upgrades any of the gear. Although these are hard to come by, there's at least a secret boss fight where you can encounter a new enemy, and after defeating them you can loot more of the ingredients. Moving on to settlements, we'll look at a fairly new mod that brings a bit of Valenwood into Skyrim. Milandriel is a small village located west of Mixed Water Mill in Eastmarch, although saying the word small is an understatement, as the tree occupying the majority of the settlement is freaking massive. The so-called treehouse adds some unique wood elf interiors, all custom made that seem to fit nicely with Bosmeri culture, including some remarkable designs to the crafting stations. The village's inhabitants consist of hunters who sell items and also act as trainers. There's also a woodland guardian that not only acts as the village's security, but it also could be summoned when finding the spell tomb. There's also an underground dungeon where you can find Nargai, an armored panther who can become your own mount. Although I'm not exactly sure how settlements in Valenwood are supposed to look like, I would imagine this village has a similar resemblance, as the mod author did a heck of a job designing the landscape and recapturing that unique cultural trait for Bosmers. For those that prefer a single player home, there's Varbaril, a small cabin located in the Solitude area, suited for someone following the Green Pact. While a very small home, you have access to everything you need, including all 3 crafting stations, storages for all items, and even a blood potion crafting station for vampire characters. Of course, a Bosmer home isn't a home without its own shrine of Ifrit. There's also a journal inside the player home detailing its previous occupants, a Bosmer couple sharing their experience of living in Skyrim after moving from Valenwood. I find that it adds a nice touch to the player home, since the journal tells a realistic narrative about how Bosmers who follow the Green Pact would adjust to life in Skyrim. For quests, one features an artifact belonging to a legendary hunter of Valenwood, as well as other references to Bosmeri culture. Nedhegoth the Butcher is a quest mod where you have to deal with 3 dangerous Bosmer that have been ambushing travelers in Whiterun. Not only are they dangerous individuals as well as cannibals, the guards aren't willing to deal with them, since they're pretty much useless outside of the city. Either way, it's up to your character to find where their den is and put an end to them. All 3 of the Bosmers have high level gear, and facing them all at once can be quite challenging, so you may have to take them out the old fashioned way.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Once they are defeated, you can obtain all their gear, which features some custom weapon designs, but the Helm of Orin Bearclaw is the major feature, an artifact from previous Elder Scrolls games that improves the wearer's agility and endurance. Like the mask from the Wild Hunt, the helm is an ideal fit for a legendary hunter who strikes fear into his opponents, and you get some powerful attributes when wearing it. You can also loot the Dragonbone armors from the Bosmers, which gives you some powerful gear that is ideal for endgame. Lastly, we'll finish off with followers, and like Inigo, this should come to no surprise, as she is one of Skyrim's most popular follower mods. Song on the Green introduces you to Auri, a young Bosmer girl that has recently moved to Skyrim and is looking for a traveling companion. If you want to know more about her backstory, a quest log asks you to take Auri to certain locations where she starts reminiscing about her time in Valenwood.
This place, it reminds me of my home within one of the great grottos. The light would slip through the cracks between the branches, like here.
You can also ask her about Bosmer culture and tradition, and by continuing to express your interest on the subject matter, helps build a strong relationship with her. Once you finish the quest, she'll confess why she's really in Skyrim and can no longer go back to Valenwood. You also get to hear her sing this, "Oh, for the love of..." Hold on! I swear to Yifri, killed this guy so many times I've lost count. Oh well, time to eat. Like many other popular follower mods, Auri provides plenty of banter when doing quests.
I have stood before the god of the hunt, and we're now seeking his favor? Don't muck this up, Dragonborn.
She can also interact with other NPCs, and depending on which one, can provide some snarky commentary.
I am not your sister, Silent Peter. I know you spend your days chopping wood, so don't even try to compare me to yourself.
Look, I...
Don't start. Save it for Ifrey.
Yeah, she really hates Fandel, though I don't blame her. She even has her own mount, a so-called antelope named Thistlefoot, and will be seen written on him when riding on your own. There are also a number of mods that overhaul Auri's appearance to give her a more updated look, and I'm glad to say that most of them do fit her character quite well, as opposed to, you know, making her more like an anime character.
Oh, come on!
Anyway, I don't think there's any more that need to be said about Auri. Just one of those mods that, despite how you feel about followers, should at least try it out. Well, that's all for this video. A collection of mods not only well suited for a Bosmer playthrough, but also a unique and immersive way to learn more about their culture in general. Next up, I plan to cover the Bretons, and even though there aren't many mods that represent their lifestyle, there are some that you may have noticed in other Elder Scrolls games. I also plan to cover the Argonians afterwards. Figure I mention it since I've been getting a lot of comments about doing a video on them, so there's your heads up. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out.